Welcome back to the Sanilac Flashlight. Today begins our first in the series of Friend of the Court horror stories that we are going to be doing for our audience and programming. I'm joined today by Michael Munn. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you, man. So, I guess you're the first. You were the first person out of a lot of people. I originally posted that, I think maybe a week ago, on the Through My Eyes Facebook group. And I had well over 110 likes and interests on it. And you were the first person who could meet up relatively quickly. So I appreciate you telling your story, man. And I'm sure it's, as most stories go involving the Friend of the Court, it's usually pretty painful. And, for bearing all that, I thank you and I appreciate it and just want to, give you an ear and let you tell your story, man.
Well, it's nice to have somebody that's doing something about it, or at least trying.
Well, I mean, it's all about starting a dialogue, I think. And
exactly.
I think that, when it comes to the Friend of the Court, it's structured in a very shady way.
Yes.
Just from the get-go. When you get into, federal funds coming in that are essentially designed to take all of the parenting time, or as much of the parenting time as is legally able to be prescribed, away from one and to the other, you can maximize the child support payment. And of course that payment is where they get all of their fees. Some of that money goes to the pension funds for the judges. So it's to me it's just the shadiest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And for people not to look at this as a direct assault on a nuclear family, I can't look at it as anything else.
No, it's exactly what it is. And it's, my case is from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, early 90s.
Yeah.
Both cases that I had through St. Clair County. I had a son who I had custody of at 5,
Mm-hmm.
but yet paid child support until he was 18. They called it confinement because his mother was on disability.
Mm-hmm.
That's just constant, and it was worse with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I was paying child support to the tune of $231 a week for my son.
Yep.
And another $281 a week for my daughter.
Okay.
I don't mind the child support. The problem was they geared it to a job I had. The company shut down. After that, I was taking jobs at $10 to $13 an hour. I was making $27 an hour at that job.
Mm-hmm.
They refused to adjust it.
So typically how this works is every year or year and a half or 2 years or something, you as a paying parent into the child support, you have the right to request a review. And typically you request one of these reviews when you lose a job and your money goes down to whatever it's now structured to. Right. And that's how that's supposed to work.
Yes. And the thing is, the job after that place closed down, mm-hmm. was managing an apartment complex. Mm-hmm. Was live on. Yep. I didn't have any bills, so I didn't adjust it at that.
Yeah.
I figured let them get the money that these kids need. You find out later that the kids are only, out of that $231 a week I was paying for my daughter, the mother was getting about $130 a month.
Okay.
So I don't, all the rest of it was for adjustments and paperwork.
Sure.
And I just don't understand that. Plus paying 90% of the medical bills. Mm-hmm. And that's just a small part. The money, it to me isn't as bad as what they do to you psychologically. Yeah. The destruction of mine and my daughter's relationship. Mm-hmm. The mother was, I counted it the other day, 67 times. She was found in contempt of court for denying my visits.
67?
67 times in contempt of court.
But never served any jail time?
Not one day.
No.
And all they would do is order her to make up the parenting time. Mm-hmm. She would go by that, and then the deny of visits would stop again, just not being there when I went to pick her up. And I was driving from Warren to Port Huron every day, or not every day, but every week to try to pick her up.
Sure.
Got up there one time, and the mother and the new boyfriend decided, that they weren't going to let me take her. Called the police, the police told me, "Where's your paperwork?" And I said, "Back in Warren." And he said, "Well, you need to go get it." I said, "By the time I go get it and come back, they're going to be gone."
Yeah.
Well, I went there, got the paperwork, came back, they were gone, just like I said.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not even, when my daughter had some behavior problems when she was younger, I told the court, you know, from her not being around me and her not having a father figure, I said, "Listen, within months she's going to be stealing. She's going to end up on probation for that. She's going to end up doing, you know, not doing things that she's supposed to do." I said, "And I need to be the one that's there so she understands that she cannot do this."
Yeah.
Word for word, everything I told them that she was going to do, she did. They didn't even care. You know, I filed for custody 6 different times, 5 times in default, taking everything I had in the bank out to retain an attorney.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get past the court referee.
Yeah.
I would go in there with stacks of paper from CPS
Yeah.
about different cases, different calls, different times that they had to go there because of calls they were receiving from neighbors that didn't even know her.
So I guess would it be possible to just start at the beginning? Like
Sure.
So you had a son. How old is he?
He would have been this year. He would have been 28.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he passed away last August.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah.
That's got to be really rough.
Yeah.
And you had a good relationship with him.
Oh, he's my best buddy. You know,
I'm so
I
sorry.
had custody of him since 5. You know, he lived with me.
So he was born when?
November 3rd, 92.
92. Okay, and your daughter was born?
July 8th, 1990.
Okay, okay. So your relationship with their mother deteriorated around what year?
Before she was born, actually.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So just run me through like the brief history there.
But, you know, they asked me if I wanted to do a DNA test for paternity, and I said no.
Yeah.
You know, went to court, established child support. At first, it wasn't too bad. You know, it was a good amount. But it seems like all they cared about was the money. Nothing to protect me from being able to see her, or her to be able to see her father.
Yeah.
You know, and even having to go up there because the mother would go in. I worked at Cheap Charlie's at the time, and at that time it was on Craft Road and 24th Avenue.
Yep.
She would come in there, cause me to lose my job.
Yeah.
She went from there to Garfield's. She went to Garfield's to cost me my job. I went from there to Chi-Chi's.
Yeah.
You know, I had to move away from Port Huron for her to stop going into my jobs and causing me to lose them.
Yeah.
Because the day after I would lose them, she would have me up in front of the court.
Yeah.
The furthest I was ever behind on child support was $437.
Wow.
I did 45 days in jail for that. And that was because Cheap Charlie's burned down.
Oh my God.
And the judge's response to me when I explained to him I was just out of work because the place burned down was, "For this amount, you can go pick up bottles."
Yeah. What judge was that?
That was Judge Tomlinson.
So Tomlinson was there. How long ago was this?
Oh, this is 90s.
So he's been there for well over 20 years now.
Oh, yeah.
So your case primarily just involves then the St. Clair County friend of the court.
Yeah,
and Judge Tomlinson.
Yeah, Judge Tomlinson, and actually there was Judge Kelly at the beginning.
Okay. So pretty much out of all the respondents I got from my, asking people, does anyone have any, horror stories here? I would say with probably 80% of the replies I got, it involved Judge Tomlinson.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy, for those of you who don't know, Judge Tomlinson is essentially a mafia family judge. His brother's a judge, he's a judge. They just use the legal system to essentially get all the lawyers in St. Clair County, giving them money for their re-elections, and they can use that money for just about anything they want. And these are experts in skirting the law, and they're probably the best example of just government acting straight up as a mafioso organization. There's no real difference. It's about a shakedown. We want the money. Where's the money, Lebowski? And yeah, it's pretty much that's pretty much how it goes. But yeah, everything that it's interesting that you say Tomlinson, because that's pretty much everybody.
Yes. For sure, all the concern is the money.
Yeah.
There is no concern for the child.
No.
There's none. Every time I would go in there. Finally, I went in. They threatened. My daughter ended up getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to send her to some girls' reform school in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
I finally got a lawyer that was able to get something accomplished. Maybe because he used to be a state representative. I don't know. Because his name was David Obliger.
Okay.
And even the court referee, when he came in, she was trying to shut it down right away.
Yeah.
It was him that demanded to go in front of Judge Tomlinson.
Mm-hmm.
That got finally to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, finally, instead of, my thing was, you've never let me try to take care of my daughter.
Yeah.
You've never let her come to me to see if her lifestyle would be better. She had been on probation for 4 years for stealing makeup from a drugstore up by the North End projects.
Yeah, man.
And came to my house 3 months after she was at my house. She accomplished good grades. Everything was going right, and she was off probation. This is the stuff that St. Clair County don't care about. No, I don't think any friend of the court cares about the way it's set up in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
And it's got to change because they're destroying lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
They want to worry about money. Fathers, I don't know about now, but fathers back then, we didn't have anything to say.
Mm-hmm.
All we were is just jealous men that were upset because we couldn't get the woman back. And
Sure.
That wasn't the case at all.
Yeah.
I seen what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted it to change.
Okay.
I mean, she assaulted me coming out of the courtroom, out of the front of the court office. My daughter's mother.
Okay.
And that's when David Oblinger was finally able to get me to go to the judge. So she was mad.
Yeah.
So I come out of the room, and right away she assaulted me. Everybody in front of the court office seen it.
Yeah.
Who do they grab and slam up against the wall?
You.
Yes. And the officer, they had to call the Port Huron police.
Yeah.
Thank God everybody came out and told the deputies, the bailiffs, that no, it wasn't him. It was her that assaulted him. He was just walking out.
Mm-hmm.
But I still ended up getting carted off to the jail.
Yeah.
For causing problems in the court building.
Yeah.
When all I was doing is walking out of the front of the court office.
Yeah.
And that's the way men are treated there. That's not right.
Yeah.
It's not right at all.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely seems to be a double standard here, and I think that I'll put it this way, it seems like a woman has to mess up really, really bad in this system for her to be the one that the court decides is going to be on the receiving end of the court's abuse, basically. Like, I do know probably one or two women who, are just horrible mothers that, were so either drug addicted or, completely out to lunch as far as taking care of their kids that they actually did get placed with the father. I can think of probably a few cases like that. I'm sure I'm going to hear about more by the time this series is over. But, but to continue on with your story, you started off with Judge Kelly.
Yeah, well, it was alternating between Tomlinson and Kelly. If the docket was full, then Kelly would get the excess.
Mm-hmm.
But Tomlinson usually, and every referee that I went in front of was for Judge Tomlinson.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And that was Jakubiak, and there were so many of them too.
Mm-hmm. Was Judge Tomlinson's sister working for the friend of the court at the time?
I don't have any clue.
Okay.
Honestly, when I was young, that's the place we wanted to stay away from.
Oh, for sure.
So I mean, but it just seems like it was very close knit.
Mm-hmm.
They have their minds made up before you came in the door, before you even went in that room.
Yep.
Where's the money?
Yep.
Because that's the first question. When I go in there, even though the law was separate,
Yeah.
that they cannot deny your visits even if you're not paying child support.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first thing they'd ask me when I was trying to get my visits back and squared away is, are you paying your child support?
Sure.
My response was, of course. I call you the front of the court every time and tell you guys if I switch jobs,
Yeah.
so my wages can be garnished.
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course I was paying.
Sure.
I didn't want to go to jail for not paying, and I didn't want my kids to be without.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I paid what needed to be paid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think my child support case was through Oakland County, Judge Pizzetti, and but it was the same exact sausage factory treatment.
Yes.
The first thing they do is they bring you in and they sit you in a room and they say, okay, this is how much you need to pay, and every month. And I mean, it was so impersonal, and it was just so cookie cutter that you just feel, and I'm sure they do this all the time, and to the point where they don't care. It's just a stream of revenue to them. They don't care about the people. You're in and you're out, and that's all they care about. But what I think I had to deal with really was a lot of negativity being projected onto me throughout the entire process. Like my son's mother, tried saying that I smoked cannabis. It's like, well, I think the last time you saw me smoke cannabis, you were smoking it with me. This is of course before cannabis was legal, and they thought they had one more reason to hold something over you, which is another reason I'm glad cannabis is legal, because people who do cannabis are not bad parents.
No,
not at all. So,
no.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that was my experience. It's very one-sided. They just want the money, and they'd rather not put you in jail, because then obviously they're not getting money off you then, but it sounds like in your case they were almost giddy to throw you in jail.
Oh yeah,
over 400 and what was it?
$467.
Put in jail for $467, and that was by Judge Tomlinson.
Judge Kelly actually
sentenced you that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was 45 days, which I was like, okay, $1 a day, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just when you were going up to front of the court, didn't matter what it was. It was like at that time you always took a toothbrush with you.
Yeah.
You didn't know if you were coming home or not.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if it was for me trying to get my visits they were never had to be reinstated. They had to be enforced. Mm-hmm. And the only way they would enforce them is, she's in contempt. Well, if you're not going to put her in jail, you're not going to fine her, you're not going to do anything. What is the sense of even finding her in contempt?
Yeah.
And I realized halfway through front of the court, if I was ever going to have a chance at a relationship with my daughter,
yeah,
I needed to save every piece of paperwork from front of the court so that I could show her how many times I went up there and fought for my visitation.
Mm-hmm.
How many times I went up there and tried to get custody of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I still got 96% of that paperwork today.
Sure.
Because when she came to live with me, I showed it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess, what was the maximum amount of time you ever got for visitation with your daughter? Just one weekend every 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's what the original order was, is one weekend every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then after years of fighting, I would week on, week off through the summer.
Okay.
But it never happened.
Sure.
And it was never enforced. I would maybe see her a week out of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe 4 weekends out of the year. I would go up there to file for denied visits, and they told me I could only do that once every 2 months.
Yeah.
But yet, I was up in court 3 times in 1 month from her reviewing my case.
Yeah.
To try to raise my child support.
Mm-hmm.
And even when they were looking at it to try to raise it, they never lowered it, realizing, okay, he went from $27 an hour to $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
They never did that. I used to have to work 2 jobs in overtime. just to be able to take care of my family that I had at home. You know, and when I explained to them I can't even take care of my family at home, well, stop having kids. You know, and it's like, well, how do you know I didn't meet somebody that already had a child?
Sure.
You know, I took the mother. I have to take the child too. I take the child too. If the child's at my house, I take care of that child. You know, my stepdaughter had a very good father. You know, he did very good as far as helping and taking care of her. But I always accepted her as mine since she was 2 years old.
Sure.
You know, but they don't consider that. They don't care about that. Her father, you know, her dad should not have to feed that child when he's at our house. I should be able to do that then, or in the month. But I'd have to work 2 jobs, you know, 3 jobs sometimes, just to be able to make rent, get food on the table, you know, and pay child support.
Sure. Yeah, it's such a tightrope.
Yeah.
So, you have one weekend every 2 weeks, and then you've got alternating weeks in the summer, but none of these are being enforced. You're not getting any of this time with your daughter. How did that affect your relationship with her early on, and how did that sort of change over time?
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, when she would come, she would act out because she was told that it was me not wanting to get her. She would do whatever she could to make her mom would actually give her money to make the wife cry. I mean, it was terrible.
Wait, what would happen?
Her mother would actually give her money so that she would make my wife cry.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What would she do?
Just misbehave, call her names, be mean, you know, and if I disciplined her, I was right back up in front of the court.
And how did you come to the conclusion that she was being paid money?
She told us.
Oh, really?
Showed us the money and said,
how much would she be paid for?
$20. You know, and when you're a kid.
Oh, it's great money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like candy bars for a week.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, we made it past that. She come to live with me. I finally got custody of her when she was 15.
Okay.
Damage was pretty much done by then.
Okay.
You know, but they could have saved that child. They didn't care to.
Yeah.
You know, there was CPS telling them. There was me telling them. There was counselors telling them. And they didn't care.
So the friend of the court of St. Clair County just basically acted with complete disregard to even what Child Protective Services were saying?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. Child Protective Services would call me and tell me, because back then there wasn't the law. If they take the child, they go to the father. That law didn't exist back then. Like a lot of grandparents or a lot of times foster care. So, you know, it was just an ongoing battle with these people. CPS would call me on the phone and say, Mr. Munn, you have got to go get custody of your daughter. We're very concerned that she's not going to be alive. And I would go up there with just stacks of maybe 6 different cases within a month. And they would tell me, that's past, that's in the past. Well, this one was only from a week ago. A week ago was in the past, was their response.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, what about the police reports?
Yeah.
That's in the past. Yeah.
Sounds like they just make up the law as they go along.
Oh, yeah, when I went in there, and that time I went in after I was assaulted at front of the court, I told him, I said, I'm not comfortable coming here.
Yeah.
I'd rather do this over the phone.
Yeah.
I said, she assaulted me going out, and I was taken to the jail and held for an hour so she could get time to leave.
Yeah.
I said, to me, that's not, you know, it's not right. You guys aren't doing anything to help protect the people coming out of here. And they told me that's in the past. We don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So, you got to be kidding me.
So what else, man? Anything else stick out at you about your situation?
Yeah. Well, after I got custody of my daughter.
At age 15?
Yeah. They asked me, you know, did I want child support? I didn't want to hassle. I didn't want to go back there.
Didn't want to even be involved
So I
with
told
your
him,
ex, yeah.
No child support.
Yeah.
I said, but the agreement is, if she ends up back at the mother's, I don't have to pay either.
Yeah.
And the mothers agreed to that, put in a letter to that. Well, my daughter did it.
If I could ask, what was What was so bad that finally got you custody?
They were going to put her in a
In that
reform school.
Reform school down.
And Dave Oblinger was able to get it to where they said, no, let's try the fathers first.
Okay.
You know, and that's why I got custody of her, or how I got custody of her. And then when she was about 17, she was throwing a fit. She wanted to go back to her mom's because she didn't like my rules no more. Got out of the car. What it was is she had gotten herself in trouble again for fighting at school, was put on probation. She had to go do a drop, and she did not want to go.
Yeah.
Well, I told her, you're going.
Yeah.
You're on probation. They told you had to drop, and you have to drop. So I took her to go up there. She got out in Lennox Township, throwing a fit. I'm not going. You're just. So, and one of the Lennox police officers told right in front of her, said, well, you can't make her go. She's 17 now.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but she's on probation. He said, that doesn't matter. And I said, okay. Well, then she can't come back to my house.
Yeah.
And because with them telling her that, there's no way. There's no way I can let her come back because she's not going to listen. I had 5 other kids at home.
Yeah.
And so she went back to her mother's. The next week I got a letter from front of the court saying that I had to pay $462 a month for child support.
Really?
Yes.
Again?
Yep. I called them and I didn't call them. I sent a letter in,
Yeah.
asked for a review, to go in front of the court.
You had already signed an agreement with
Yeah.
your wife stating that you weren't going to have to pay anything further if she went back to live with her mother.
Right, and they said change of circumstance.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I
a
mean-
deal's a deal, but whatever.
Yeah, this is the way they do things. That told me right there, they don't have a care in the world. It's just money.
Yeah.
They were more than happy to take that deal and throw it completely. They didn't want her to have to pay child support. Why? She was working. She was making more money than I was most of the time.
So it sounds like you could have gotten. Well, was part of the deal with her that you would get your daughter if she didn't have to pay child support, or was that not?
No, they had already. The courts actually awarded me because But I honestly think the only reason they did is because my lawyer was a state representative.
Yeah.
I think if and his father was a judge up there, Judge Oplinger.
Okay.
So I really think if it wouldn't have been him, and it would have been anybody else, they would have sent her to that school. Because I'll be honest, I believe they get a kickback from, as far as the juvenile courts go and the family courts go, I think they get a kickback from sending these kids to these places.
Right. So I can speak to that, where one judge out in, I believe it was New York State, I'm pretty sure it was New York State, I'll have to check on that, was found guilty in a court of law for specifically just sending kids to, for the most minor things,
Yes.
too, like, throwing a fit in class or something, whatever gets them picked up by the cops, however minor it was, off you go to the juvenile detention facility, and I'll take my kickback from my buddy who runs the juvenile
Yes.
detention facility. So, yeah, it's the prison industrial complex, which is expanded onto kids.
Yes.
They want your kids in a cage so that they can make money off them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's a sad thing.
It is.
And we wonder why we're where we're at today.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that having such a contentious family law system set up is that causes people to fight. It just creates so much turmoil in the home, and it creates animosity. Like, eventually, one of these parents is going to start playing the kid off against the other parent. Well, they don't love you.
Definitely. That was my daughter's entire life.
Yeah. So I mean, she's never going to have a normal relationship with a man either.
No, absolutely not.
Like, at this point, what is her life like?
She's a recovering addict.
Okay.
Thank God she woke up from that.
Yeah. She hit bottom.
Oh yeah. And she growing up, her mother used her probation as a babysitter. If she wanted to go somewhere for the weekend, Ashley's arguing with me. She won't listen to what I say. They come and pick her up and take her to the Craft Road Juvenile Detention Center, and her mom would be gone for the weekend.
Yeah.
This happened over and over and over again. And if they can say what they want, but the bottom line, 4 months at my house and she was off probation, getting straight A's in school. School calling me every week, telling me what a great kid she is. So I mean, it's a shame, you know. They put these kids that, you know. That was the other thing. I did not want my daughter on. Was Ritalin back to Strattera.
Yeah.
Did not want my daughter on there, so let's try a diet first.
Yeah.
You know, and that's before I had custody. I said, listen, I'm not against these pills if the kids need them.
Yeah.
But let's do a diet. Let's do something first.
Yeah.
Well, she was acting out because of the problems at home.
Yep.
Well, she got put up. You put these kids on these pills, and I don't know where a court feels like they should be getting in the middle of that.
Oh, as far as what kind of medication a
Yeah.
child is prescribed, it should be between the doctor and the legal guardians of the child.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that, you know, but she went to court. She got what she wanted. But when you tell kids from 5 years old on that they need these pills to be normal,
Yeah.
well, then when you give them something like Vicodins as they are in their young teens because of kidney infections,
Yeah.
and that was what her addiction was Vicodins.
Okay.
Well, they don't feel the pain, so they feel like they're normal.
Yeah.
So it went from taking it as prescribed to up to, at first it was 7 a day.
We're talking about Strattera here.
No, we're talking about, by that time it was Adderall
Okay.
and Vicodins.
So how did she get the Vicodins?
Kidney infections.
Okay,
So
okay.
a doctor gave it to her for the pain.
And she continued to have kidney infections?
He prescribed that. You know, that's the thing. He kept prescribing that for over a year.
Okay, that's messed up.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, if there's still a kidney infection for that
Yeah.
long, why?
Yeah, I'm
Now
assuming.
she's lost her kids. You know.
Your daughter has?
Yep, every single one of them.
How many did she have?
She's had 6,
Okay.
and every one of them live with the father. She does not have custody of any of them because CPS removed them from her.
Yeah.
You know, and basically labeled her this terrible person. Didn't even give her a chance to get clean.
What does she typically do for work?
She's a waitress right now.
Okay.
I don't want to say the restaurant or anything.
Sure.
But I mean, and when she was younger, because of the pills she stripped, you know, and then it went to 25 Vicodins a day.
Wow.
You know, and this is a girl that might have been 98 pounds.
Yeah, not heavy.
Right. So I mean, you know, but this is what friend of the court causes,
Yeah.
and that's my biggest thing. You know, I lost my mom when I was 12. I was in the foster care system, but I was a young man. You know, I knew very young that I was I had to strap on what I had, and I had to go through life, you know, as a warrior. And, you know, I had to fight to survive. I had to do everything I could to survive. Finally met my father at the age of 20. You know, got to know him, got to know my other family, my brothers, but I didn't have the education as far as nobody told me that I could appeal what a court referee said. And when I did find out and try it, I was told that the judge is just going to say what I said anyway. And, you know, so it's a destroying lives, and that's what needs to change. The biggest thing that needs to change is they got to stop destroying lives over money. This has been going on too long.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I think my situation, I think that, you know, so basically I had you know, a child support agreement with my son, and then I graduated from college, and the company I was working for wanted me to move out of Michigan to Minneapolis, which I agreed to, because, I mean, jobs are pretty hard to come by at the time. This is 2002, 2003, like, everything was left Michigan at that
Exactly.
point. Like, it was just a desert as far as jobs were concerned. So I moved out there, and then I wanted to establish, you know, parental visitation while I lived out there. And I mean, you got to go through the ringer. My ex girlfriend hired a lawyer and spent $23,000 of her money just on some attorney who promised her the world, you know, and couldn't deliver, you know, any of it, unfortunately. And yeah, it was just, it was a real mess. I mean, my son's college could have been completely paid for with the amount of money that we just wasted on attorneys alone. It's like,
Right.
the whole industry, I guess, it's designed to just destroy people, and it's designed to destroy the family. And nuclear families, I've continued to come to this conclusion that our families are really just all we've got in society. It's the only thing holding it together.
Yes.
And I don't think there's any reason or there's any wonder as to why society is in the state that it's in at this point, just because we really just don't care about families. It's a joke.
No.
Everything's monetized. Like the doctor who's putting your daughter on Vicodin and Ritalin, it's like they're getting their kickback from the reps.
Absolutely.
Everything just goes in, and it's it's really hard to make it these days. I'll put it that way.
Yes, it is, and it doesn't make any sense. They've done a good job. They've taken faith.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken hope.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken wanting the chance of succeeding in the future.
Yeah.
They've even taken away their privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been seen coming for years and years, and nobody's done anything. And it's nice to see people. Seems like as of late, performers, people like you, people like Kevin, standing up and saying we're not going to do this no more.
Mm-hmm.
We got to change things for the right.
Yep.
And it's kind of nice to see. It's nice to see people finally standing up. These young kids today, they think that they're fighting a new fight. They think that everything that's bad today just started.
Yeah.
They don't realize that us old heads from the 80s fought those same fights.
Yeah.
They don't realize that the only reason they're listened to today is because of us fighting then.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we were kids, you were told to shut up, and if you didn't shut up, you caught a hand.
Yeah.
And it took us shows like Kids Are People Too, and kids standing up and saying, "I want to be recognized. I want to know what's going on."
Mm-hmm.
So we're all fighting the same fight. We just got to find a way to fight it together.
Yeah.
All age groups, all generations, everything.
Yeah. Right on. Well, is there anything more that you want to add, or?
Just thank you for doing what you're doing.
Oh, don't mention it, man. I feel like I owe it to. I feel like I owe it to every other young father and every other young mother out there. Like it's,
And every child.
Oh, absolutely. Like
every child.
It's. You got a right to know both your parents, man, and you got a right to have a relationship with them. I think that the rights of the child are the last consideration. The first consideration just seems to be money. We want to get these federal funds. It's the same thing that's going on in Sandusky right now with the homeless shelter, and then bringing in people who they knew damn well were not supposed to be around kids.
Right.
And Tom Bowser, the guy that runs the shelter and runs the thrift store there, admitted that to the mother of the child that got grabbed the other day, that we knew he wasn't supposed to be around kids. And they've got a triple felon. That Tom Bowser is a triple felon running a homeless shelter. And the chief of police hired him when he was a wanted fugitive.
Does it surprise you with Sand Lake County though?
I think that originally when I was digesting this story, I think that I wanted to give Brett Lester the benefit of the doubt, because I thought, well, this guy could have just been harangued and had his heartstrings pulled by this fast-talking pastor Rick Turner, who also, he came from Flint. He came from managing a homeless shelter, and this is really just one more incident that's made me really sour to the whole notion of a homeless industrial complex, because you set up one shelter, well, in come all the people who know that this is Freetown,
Right.
This is my playground. I can just do drugs all day and go back to this place at night, and maybe I have to go to church on the weekends, so I don't have to volunteer a whole bunch of extra time working at the thrift store. But the thrift store is a cash shop.
Right.
They require some of the guys to work in the thrift store for free, and it's hard not to look at the whole situation as being just a big money grab.
Oh yeah,
all around.
And Sand Lake County, unfortunately, is so light on pedophilia. It is. It's it's pathetic. That woman that was raped, had a child, the man went to prison, they ordered visitation for him.
Yep.
Now there's a father that doesn't deserve to be put
For sure.
And the woman was gracious enough to keep a child.
Yep.
Can't even imagine what she went through.
Imagine how many women these days would actually keep a child under those circumstances,
Right.
but she wanted to love it, you know.
Right.
And Judge Ross's response to that was not to give the case the due diligence it needed to figure out that, oh yeah, this guy raped his wife.
Right.
Like, this is not the kind of guy. But, you know, and I will give Judge Ross some credit, though. At least he had the humility, which you never see with a man like Judge Tomlinson. You
No.
will never see
Yeah.
any kind of humility ever. You will never see him demonstrate any sort of remorse for what he's done. It's all just, you know, shits and giggles on his way to the country club with his buddies to, you know, who are all lawyers giving him money, and that's just how things roll in St. Clair County.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately. Like St. Clair, that is one thing I will say is when I consider the difference between judges like Judge Tomlinson, and then you've got people like Tim Rathel as circuit court judge in Sanilac County, or Judge Prill up in Huron County, who I believe both of these are relatively fair men. And,
Yeah.
you know, I've taken cases in front of Judge Prill. You know, I think I went to Christian preschool with Tim Rathel. So, yeah, I'm aware of these men's character, and it's a complete 180 from people like Judge Tomlinson.
Well, and it's not the judges here.
Yeah.
It's the prosecution. It's the plea bargains that are given. I don't blame the judges because a lot of times yes, they can go against, but then they're going to get, if they keep going against the plea bargains, then they got to go deal with the county saying you're costing us too much money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not right for the judges here. Judge Tomlinson's been on the seat for a very long time.
A very long time.
And is so arrogant anymore
Yeah.
that, you know, it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You know,
It's crazy no one ever takes a swipe at that guy, too. It's like, blows my mind. But, you know, you're probably acting without any fear of retribution because you've got the police working for
Absolutely.
you. You've got the, you know, the whole court system and legal system is structured for you to remain in this sort of mafioso, you know, just persona that's your, that's what you bring to the bench, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you've got good judges who treat it like, you know, okay, I'm a judge, I'm a public servant, and you've got people like Tomlinson that said, let's see what I can do here, you know, let's see what I can get away with.
wasn't his father a judge too?
I imagine he probably was, but
I thought there's certain courtrooms that got the judges through the years report here on. And I could have swore that I've seen a Tomlinson from before him.
quite
too.
possible, yeah. I mean, they treat it like a family business.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure. You know, if his brother's a judge as well, you know,
Yeah.
they've obviously figured something out that works for their family, you know.
Right.
So it is what it is, but yeah, man, I thank you for coming in and just telling your story. I'm gonna be doing a lot of these, unfortunately, because who has a good experience with the friend of the court?
Nobody.
No one. I
Nobody.
can't, unless, you know, you're the parent who gets the favoritism, which in that case you probably love them. But yeah, it's not a good situation, and you know, to base so much of a child's growing up on which parent you can bilk the most. It's just such a cynical system, and
And
I
those
can't.
parents that sit there and think that the front of the court's great, and because they are the special parent,
Yeah.
they better hope to God that one thing don't happen with them that changes their situation.
Yep.
Because when they're on the other hand, and they're the ones that have to pay the money, they're going to get the same treatment because, like I said, it's about money. It's not about human feelings. It's not about loving or caring.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about family time.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
Yeah, one of the things about your case that I think I'm going to have to reflect on and consider when I talk to people in the future is just going to be the way in which Child Protective Services interacts with friend of the court. And in your case, it seems like to be a complete disregard
Yeah.
by the friend of the court as to what Child Protective Services is saying.
Yeah. When they called me and told me, I thought, oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm finally going to get her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's worth taking everything I got. So let's take the $7,500 that I got in the bank and let's put it towards this. And let's get a lawyer and let's get this done. And then, boom, nothing.
Yeah. How many
No.
times did you do that?
3 times.
Yeah.
3 times. That I've taken everything I had in the bank. Judge, when I got Dave Opliger, crazy enough, my wife's ex-husband loaned me the money to get the lawyer, so that my daughter was safe. So, I mean,
Well, Michael, thanks for coming in, man.
thank you.
Yeah.
I
Appreciate
appreciate it.
it.
Yeah.
Take care.